What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking lenses. I wanted to talk about what your guys' favorite lenses are. I also want to talk about my favorite lens. Now, as a photographer, I'm always asked, what is my favorite lens? I've been asked this for I don't know how many years. Now, today, I have an answer. And I've had an answer for a while because I feel like I've used it for most of my time as a photographer and a videographer. And that's the 50mm. The 50mm I think is the best lens all around. Photo and video. Now you may be thinking, why would you use a 50mm for video? Well, believe it or not, it's actually one of the best lenses for video. 50mm is honestly the perfect focal length. Now, having it being a prime lens, you know, you're only getting that one focal length. I'm a big fan of prime lenses. I don't necessarily use zoom lenses, one, because they're freaking expensive, and two, I just like prime lenses. And the lower aperture is very nice as well. Now, you can get low apertures on zoom lenses, but you can get even lower on one prime lens. One focal length. One focal length. Now, when it comes to the 50mm, there's two types of 50mm. Now, one is the 50mm 1.2. That is a lot more expensive. You're coming in at $22.99 from Canon. It's big and hefty, but that's also because of the low aperture. And the other one is a nifty 50. It's a pancake lens. It's probably like a fourth of the size. It's very small. Now, what you're getting out of that one is a 1.8 aperture. So it's a little bit higher, but still very fast, still very low. It opens up those blades a lot bigger, even at the lower price. It also has an STM motor, so it's a lot louder, and it's a little slower. So when you're trying to video with a 50mm STM lens, it's gonna be a lot louder, and you're probably gonna hear the lens focusing in the video. But besides that, picture-wise, amazing. Now, I have a 50mm here with me right now. It's the 1.2 version. Renting it from Redfinch Rental right now. No, this video is not sponsored at all. I rented this myself with my own money. And this is an 85mm. This is another prime lens that I use. This one I think is amazing for B-roll, amazing for photography. This lens is amazing for portraits. I really like this lens for portraits. Now, both these lenses are very good for portraits. Which one do I think is the best for portraits? I don't know. Now, if you want more compression, you're probably gonna go with an 85mm because the larger the focal length, the more compression you're getting. And the wider, you know, the more you're gonna look kind of funny like me, you know, in this. You kind of see me on the screen, kind of look a little funny. But if you're looking for the perfect compression, not too wide, not too far in, I'd go with the 50mm. Now, what do I use this lens for, you may ask? I use this for car photography in particular. I love using the 50mm in car photography. I think it's the best thing for car photography. You can also use this for landscape. I think this is an amazing lens for landscapes even. Now, when I owned a Canon 70D about a year and a half ago, the 50mm nifty 50 EF version was all that I ever used. It was legitimately my only lens that I had ever had because it was the only lens I needed. The 50mm I used for absolutely everything. I shot weddings with it, I shot portraits, I shot everything with that lens. And because it's just the perfect focal length. Personally, I think that everybody should have a 50mm in their bag at some point in their career. Soon I'm going to be getting a nifty 50. I'll do a video review on that soon, so stay tuned for that. Now, do I think you need to spend all that money for a 1.2 aperture? If you want to, go for it. Now, one thing about this lens that's actually amazing and why it's so expensive is that the render quality after shooting with this lens is exquisite. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And it's super sharp. Probably the sharpest lens I've ever shot with. Having it being an RF because, you know, the glass is way closer to the sensor. This lens in post-production is absolutely amazing. And zooming in the image looks very sharp and very amazing. Render quality, 10 out of 10. That's probably why it's so expensive, because of how sharp it can get. And having it being an RF mount, yeah, that's probably why it's so expensive, is the RF mount. So comparing this RF 50mm to the EF version 1.2, it is considerably heavier. You're coming in about 2 pounds with this new glass, new technology inside of it. It's just making it a lot more sharper and the render quality a lot more easier and a lot more accessible. I think $200 for a nifty 50 is the greatest value of a lens, because the 50mm, again, everybody should be owning a 50mm lens. It's the same focal length, a fourth of the size. So you're talking minimalist type of stuff. Pancake lens, tiny lens. Again, talking $22.99 for this big hunk junk. 1.2 aperture, control ring. There's a control ring on the nifty 50, but you have to like switch back and forth from focus to control. We're talking USM motor, which means it's a lot faster focusing, it's a lot quieter. And then with the nifty 50, you're talking 1.8 aperture, $200, STM lens, so it's a little louder, a little slower. It's a pancake lens, super minimalist, can fit in your camera bag without breaking your back. That's amazing value. That's a great value. That's all I have for you today, folks. Thank you guys so much for watching. I highly recommend getting a 50mm, not specifically this one, but a nifty 50 at least. It will really change the way you shoot your photos and your videos. Absolutely amazing. Highly recommend it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Oh man, look at that element. Oh my gosh. Aperture blades are just so interesting to me. They're so intriguing, so magnificently aesthetically pleasing to look at. Don't you ever just look into a lens and just look at the element and look at the you look inside to see the blades? I think that's the first thing I do every time I get a lens, is I look inside and I look at the blades, because I love looking at the blades so much. Like, look at that. Oh man. But how absolutely amazing is that? Okay, goodbye.